Well, hi, Dulari. It's nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So Dulari Tahbildar, who is the director of the Rhode Island childcare training program for SEIU Education and Support Fund.
That's right.
Perfect. Did I
Perfect.
get all of that right? I had to practice that one. So I'm really excited to be able to talk to you about these topics. And I'm hoping that you can start off just talking a little bit about what the Education and Support Fund does and how you see that work building economic resilience and community resilience in Rhode Island.
Yeah. So the SEIU Education and Support Fund is a national nonprofit organization, and our mission is to train and empower workers through worker-centered training and professional development and workforce development programs. So we actually work in several states, Rhode Island being one of them, where there are SEIU locals where members are early childhood educators. And actually at this point, ESF works with other workforces as well. We have human services workers, and also there could be some property service workers that are joining our team soon as well. But in Rhode Island, we work with SEIU Local 1199 that has around 350 or so at this point family childcare providers as members. And in 2017, family childcare providers got their first contract with the state, and in 2019 was their second contract. And in that contract, providers negotiated for a training fund benefit. And so what that benefit is basically a set of funds that are set aside so that family childcare providers can really direct the kind of training and professional development that they would like to support their own professional development and growth. And so ESF is the organization that is operationalizing that training fund.
So what kind of things, what kind of supports and training do they want?
So providers want, first of all, I'll say that family childcare providers are this amazing group of mostly women, mostly Latina women, who are incredible lifelong learners. They have this true desire to keep learning, to keep developing their craft and keep developing their skills. And one of the things that was very clear when I first started is that they wanted more variety of opportunities to learn than what had been offered to them. So they wanted, they didn't want to just take the same class over and over again. They wanted to build on their skills. They wanted pathways for learning. They also really want and need a variety of courses that are accessible in not just English, but also Spanish. And they also are interested in courses that can help them build out their businesses. And I think specifically since the pandemic hit, really developing their business skills, basic business practices, as well as more advanced business practices that can help them not only survive through the pandemic, but also thrive beyond the pandemic. So they're really interested in a variety of topics, as long as they are accessible and as long as they're directly related to helping to build their business. So what we do is we've kind of crafted 4 main areas for education programs. So we have professional development. So these are workshops that could be, as short as 2 hours, as lengthy as 22 hours. And they range from digital literacy skill development to a peer mentoring and leadership development program. So there's basically something for everybody in there. So we cover topics around business skills, around educator skills, around being a worker, digital literacy. So we really run the gamut so that if somebody's just looking to take a couple classes just to kind of build a few new skills, they can. But if there are providers that are really interested in more pathways to professional growth that might lead to maybe more advanced credential or degree, they can do that as well. So we have professional development. We also offer technical assistance. So another thing that providers really want is they want to be able to call somebody and have somebody answer the phone. And whether they have a question around licensing, or they have a question about an online application, or they, need help logging in to their portal so they can log attendance. They just want someone to answer the phone to be able to help them. And a lot of them already have informal support networks among their peers, but they want to make sure that they are, getting the right information in a timely manner. So we provide a lot of one-on-one technical assistance in the areas of digital literacy, small business support, and quality improvement. We also have community and network building. So we last year, right before the pandemic, we got it in there right in the nick of time. We held the first ever conference exclusively for family childcare providers. So it was a really fun in-person event. People gathered, they generated new ideas. They were able to talk with one another and make connections and learn about resources that could support them. We're also in the process right now of designing a family childcare network model that can provide even more supports. And then finally, we have workforce development programs. So we have a registered apprenticeship program for family childcare, the first in the country. And we also have a substitute pool for family childcare that really helps provide coverage for providers when they need it to take their sick time or to take professional development leave care. So that was a lot.
That was a lot. It is a lot. That was a great description. I should have started here, but can you describe, their family childcare providers, really their role in the economy? I mean, what they provide and allow, and the critical role that they play in the local economy, and also some of the factors that they're dealing with in terms of, my understanding is very small businesses, challenges around reimbursement rates, things like that. Just kind of paint a picture for us.
Yeah. So family childcare is a very unique form of childcare that's, been around, that is around in communities all over the country. And the unique role that family childcare plays is, so everybody knows that if there's a family where there's one person that is working, at least one person that's working, one parent that is, if there's a 2-parent home and there's at least one parent that is working and they need childcare, there are a few options, right? You can send your child to a center, which is a great option. I sent my own child to a center. You can have a nanny in your own home. You can have a family member take care of them, or you can have a family childcare provider take care of them. And what family childcare offers, which is unique, is that they often have extended hours. So early, open late, open on weekends, sometimes overnight. And that kind of flexibility is super important for workers that work during those hours. So we learned that we were reminded of that fact at the start of this pandemic, when we had first responders, other essential workers that needed childcare. Family childcare, if they weren't already engaged in family childcare, that was one of the first options that we knew needed to be available and open and high quality, so that our essential workers could get back to work. So that's really critical. Family childcare providers are also really embedded in neighborhoods. I tell the story that, when my own child, who's 9 now, when I was looking for childcare for my own child, when I went back to work when he was 4 months old, I didn't really know what family childcare was. And so I just, looked to what I knew, which was, what are the childcare centers? And now that I know who family childcare providers are and where they're located, I look back to the neighborhood that I lived just a couple years ago, and I was like, there were family childcare providers everywhere, down the street, down the block, around the corner. And it's so vital to have that access. I think when family childcare providers, or the person that's taking care of your child, is located in your neighborhood, there is a sense of familiarity. There's a sense of, similar cultural context that really helps, I think, build connections in communities. And of course, when we have those, those personal connections, those neighborly connections, that really helps make a community strong.
Yeah, sure. What barriers do they face? Economic, other?
Yeah. There are quite a few economic barriers. I think for, anyone who is in early childhood education as an educator, wages, compensation is a, longstanding pervasive issue. And that goes for any early childhood educator who is getting paid through, private pay option where the families are paying out of pocket, but also the subsidy rates. So most family childcare providers in Rhode Island actually participate in the state's subsidy program, CCAP. I think, luckily, once family childcare providers became unionized, the union was able to fight for higher rates and really influence what that ladder of compensation looked like. But it's still, woefully low. And I think when family childcare providers are reliant on those subsidy rates, and to be a licensed family childcare provider, most family childcare providers are licensed to have 6 kids, but you can be licensed for up to 9, and then past 9 you're a group family childcare, so that's a different variation of the license. And so when if you have one child, or even just one child that you don't have enrolled, even if you have the capacity to enroll up to a certain number, the margins are so narrow that it can really impact your ability to just stay open. So it's really challenging when, the cost of care can be high, especially now with, cleaning supplies and so much more that needs to be done to make the environment safe. I think it's difficult if you can't maintain a certain level of enrollment to make sure that you can really just keep your doors open. So those, I think those are some barriers. I think related to that is, and related to what our purpose is around training and professional development, is that most family childcare providers get into the business of family childcare because their own children needed to be taken care of, or their children's children, or their friends' children needed to be taken care of. So they didn't go into it necessarily, thinking about, this is going to be a job that I'm going to, get rich off of, right? And so I think that there has been a lack of investment in the business training and the business development of family childcare providers in their identities as entrepreneurs, right? So that's something that we very much are trying to tackle. I know several other people are trying to tackle that as well. Organizations are trying to tackle. But how do we really help build up the identities of family childcare providers as entrepreneurs, not just as educators? And then also make sure that they have the skills to really build sustainable businesses.
Mm-hmm. I think you've said to me before, not viewing, there's sort of this irony that in our society, we view childcare providers as babysitters, when in fact, if you don't have affordable childcare, good childcare, everything sort of depends on that, people's ability to go to work, the trajectory of a child's life. But yet we still sort of build out around it as if it's the babysitters club.
Absolutely. There's a real undervaluing of the work of family childcare, of all early childhood education. And it's just a shame. I mean, it's a societal embarrassment that we don't value that caregiving more. And we don't value it as a profession. And, if we interviewed dozens of family childcare providers just recently all across the country. And one of the top key insights that came out of those interviews was that family childcare providers do not want to be treated as babysitters. They want to be respected as professionals. And, it's an important rallying cry, I think. And I think anybody who hears the stories of family childcare providers and the work that they have to put in, just the sheer effort, the sheer hours, not to mention the skills. I mean, there's no way that if you actually were to hear the stories of family childcare that you could actually think that it's not work, that it's not really important work.
Yeah. No kidding. Definitely work I could not do. What if you were in charge, and you could do one thing to advance community wealth, economic, justice, economic resilience in Rhode Island, what would you do?
Oh, it's a big question.
It is a big one.
Well, I mean, I think I'll stick with, you know, the population that I'm working with now. I mean, I think that Rhode Island is a state that is comprised of such rich, such rich immigrant populations who who have taken on entrepreneurship as a way to build their own life and their own living, as well as to contribute to the state's economy. And I think because of all kinds of isms that exist, there's just not enough attention and care and lifting up and empowerment and validation of that experience, and of the value that immigrant entrepreneurs really play in our economy. And I think in the case of family childcare providers, it's they're not only entrepreneurs, they're not only immigrants, but they're also women, and they're also mostly people of color. And so I think when you layer on all those identities, that any one of those identities experiences marginalization in decision making, in policy level policy tables. I think if I were to do one thing, I think it would be to change who's making decisions, change how people listen to women immigrant entrepreneurs, and really hear what they say they need and give it to them.
That's great. Sounds so simple. All right, so now we get to the fun part, which is a lightning round.
Okay.
Yay. So there's just a couple questions, really just kind of quick off the top of your head answers.
Okay.
So when I say, what's the first word or phrase that comes to your mind when I say local?
Return.
I promise that I did not plant that. What's the first word or phrase that comes to your mind when I say wealth?
Assets.
What's your go-to or a go-to local business? It doesn't have to be your number one, but
Oh, we love beans and buns down the street. It's a local bakery.
nice. Patuxent Village?
Yes.
Okay, good to know. Community to you means?
It means people loving together, working together, uplifting each other.
And is there anything in particular that you see happening in Rhode Island right now that you are particularly excited about?
Is there anything happening right now in Rhode Island that I'm particularly excited about? I feel, gosh, I feel embarrassed that I'm at a little bit of a loss, because all I can think about are the things that I'm wishing I could be excited about. I'm wishing I could be excited about requiring masks in elementary schools.
That's fair.
Yeah. So
it's been a tough few weeks. Yep.
Yeah, it's hard when there's a lot of obstacles in the way of being excited about the future, with the way that the Delta variant is rearing its head, and the way that decision makers are handling it. It's hard to be excited.
Yeah, that is for sure. I feel that too. Do you have a favorite local community investment opportunity?
I mean, I come from youth nonprofits, and so I feel like every youth organization in the city is a community investment opportunity. When we invest in our young people, I think, they are the most, they've had it rough. Like, if we adults are, struggling, young people have really just had it rough, to not have that ability to socialize, to learn with each other, to have these kind of milestone events. And I think youth development and youth development organizations, even before the pandemic, but I mean, I think to really have organizations that see young people, that hear young people when they're going through some of the most exciting and the most kind of anxious, anxiety ridden and hard time of their life. If we didn't have, youth development professionals, I think we'd be really in trouble.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dulari. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for all you do.